What's going on, everyone? Tayler Kyles here for CLNS Media, live from day one of the Senior Bowl practice with best friend of the show. Is it okay if I say best friend?
I love that.
We're there. Best friend of the show, JP Acosta of SB Nation, to recap the day and give you the best players on a day where we really focused on the trenches, which, of course, are the biggest areas of need for the Patriots. So, first of all, it seemed like a very intense day to start with. That first session was excellent. The second one didn't feel quite as good, quite as intense. Why do you think that was?
So I think largely for the first part of the morning, first part is Mike Kafka's been here before. He's done this. He's the head coach of the national team, and I think he knows how to organize a practice to get the most out of his players intensity-wise. I also think the American team turned off the music halfway through practice, and music helps you hype yourself up, get yourself more energized. And I think you saw some of that energy, some of that physicality and intensity from the first team rather than the second team, because you saw all the chippiness. You saw a little bit of fighting. You saw a little bit more aggression from them, where it felt like the second team was still trying to figure stuff out.
Right.
And I think the first team was able to pick it up a little quicker.
And that first team, literally, a fight almost broke out. And that's a good point. This is what you get when you interview a veteran of the Senior Bowl. My first time here, I didn't even notice, but now that you said it, I was like, now that the music's turned off, I'm not quite as amped up. Can't imagine how the players felt. But in terms of standouts, there were a lot, specifically in the trenches. We had some awesome battles. So who are three people that stood out to you the most?
I'm going to start with the first practice on the offensive line with Greg Bedard from North Dakota State. He's a guy that I think is going to move inside the guard or center. He played all 5 spots today during practice and was dominant. He dominated the first part of pass pro. He stood up so many guys with the anchor ability. He has so much good technique on the interior, but also in the run game, he showed an ability to move. And I think he was able to cut off some backside guys. He got popped for a little bit of a false start where he went flying up to the second level, where I was like, oh, okay. I didn't think you had that in your bag. But I think Zabel's another one of those small school, those North Dakota State guys who end up kicking inside the guard, who's going to end up being a well-entrenched starter in the NFL.
And his parents, they were watching very proudly, and he had people coming up saying, oh my God, he did so well. And it's because he absolutely dominated today. All right, who's number 2 for you?
Second one for me is the Green Blur from Marshall, Mike Green. He is incredible. And I think the biggest thing for him, the biggest thing that he won early was the weigh-ins. He weighed in at 251 after being 248 at Marshall, and I thought he was a little lighter at Marshall, but he came in at 251, and he looks every single part of 251, but he didn't lose out all that speed. There was a play against Marcus Mabau earlier today in practice in pass rush where he just steps quickly to the inside, and he's just gone.
And Mbo's a really athletic player, so to win against a guy like that's no small feat.
And he did it every single time. He was able to do it in the run game, where I was actually surprised with his ability to set the edge. I think he's really kind of shot up draft boards after a season where he recorded double-digit sacks. I think he had 16 for Marshall, and I think he's locked himself into being a first-round player.
And now, number 3. Who you got?
Number 3 for me is a guy that I was really excited about coming in. Second practice, Omar Norman Lott from Tennessee. The dude just has juice. If we had an all-juice team, we're talking about Omar Norman Lott being first-team defensive tackle. He is so quick off the ball. There were plays that he just ended instantly because of his quickness. There was a play, I think Milroe was the quarterback, and he forced a bad snap. Play was over, and then he did it again on the next play. He's so fast crossing face, and in the pass rush department, he's able to just absolutely wipe defenders with his quickness. He's a little undersized at 295, but I think if you're looking for a penetrating 3 tech, you want him to go one gap, go full speed. Omar Norman Lott's that guy.
100%. And on a day, again, in the second session, it wasn't quite as many splash plays. He was someone who absolutely stood out. Patriots could definitely use a penetrating defensive tackle, so I wonder where he's going to be. But first team, all juice, absolutely no pulp. Now, I'm going to give my 3 standouts, but because JP is so familiar with a lot of these players, I'm also going to get some of his insights into these guys after their performances. My favorite player today, by far, Anthony Belton, left tackle out of NC State. He was dominant today. Left tackle, didn't lose a single rep, was stoning guys left and right. Then when he actually kicked inside the guard, he was just dropping bodies. You saw people on the ground, and this was a guy where in college consistency was the issue, right? The technique, you're wondering, can he put it all together and really maximize this freakish athletic profile? I thought he did that today, but what did you think? And also, how does it follow up with what you saw from him on tape?
He's one of the guys I think really made himself the most money today at tackle, and then moving inside, like you said, the guard, and he absolutely dominated at every single portion of practice today. I mean, there were plays where he just shut down spin moves. He was shutting down outside pass rush. He didn't get get backed down in power. So I think his ability to anchor and that athleticism that you talked about, that core strength that I think really gets underrated when we talk about evaluating offensive linemen, the core strength ability to anchor down against power rushers, I think that really showed up today for Belton. And I think that's something, that consistency you really need to see for him starting today with not losing a lot of reps today. You need to see more of that consistency going forward, but I think he's really made himself a lot of money today.
Absolutely. And I don't like comparing people to Trent Brown, one, because I think it upsets Patriots fans, but also because Trent Brown had basketball feet for a dude who was like 380 pounds, so not one-to-one comparison, but he reminded me of that style of player where he knows that he's a freak athlete, so he's saying, all right, you're not going through me. You can go one way or the other. I'm protecting one way, so I'll just play you countering. I'd like to see tomorrow more guys kind of getting some counter moves, really fake outside, go inside. With a lot of these guys, it feels like that's the biggest weak point, especially for younger tackles where you're trying to get out there and be the aggressor. Sometimes you let some room in there inside. Another interior guy that stood out, Aeneas Peebles. Guy was blowing up plays. He actually had 2 runs that he blew up instantly, got across the line of scrimmage before there was any chance of a play being made. What'd you think of him today?
I think he stood out with his quickness, and that's another guy who's a little undersized. He has shorter arms on the interior, but that's how he's going to win at the NFL level. He has to win with quickness, that lateral agility, and I think that stood out today in the first Senior Bowl practices. He really was able to win with a lot of speed, but then against guys like Jonah Monheim, against guys who are a little smaller and kind of equal stature to Peebles, he was able to win with a little bit of power. So I think he was able to diversify the matchups and how he won. But like you said, the things that stood out were in team today, where he absolutely ended plays before they started, and it got me out of my seat a little bit. I was like, okay, I didn't think he had that in the bag, but
we were literally standing in the corner like, wait a minute, hold up, let me stand on the bleachers real quick.
Who is that over there?
All right, the last guy for me, Ariante Ursery out of Minnesota. I was really hoping that he was going to have a strong day because he feels like he may be in the range, maybe back end of the first round. Maybe he sneaks into the second round, I'm not so sure. But someone where maybe the Patriots can acquire him, a guy who was a captain in college, also feels like he could come in and start relatively quickly. The guy shut down Mike Green, who you said had a very good day, shut down Landon Jackson, who actually did disappoint me, the oversized edge defender out of Arkansas. Didn't have a great day, but still, it was a dominant rep from Ursery. Also was moving people in the run game. So what did you think of Ursery, and do you think he's someone the Patriots can maybe be in the range for? Maybe is he moving himself up a little too quickly early on in the Senior Bowl?
So Ursery's range is really interesting to me. Early in the season, he was kind of mocked as kind of the mid-first, early first-round tackle behind Will Campbell, Kelvin Banks, but I think he kind of fell backwards towards the late first, early second, because he's another one of those guys that you don't think can last at tackle, might be better as a guard. But if he showed anything today, he showed that you should at least give him a chance at tackle. Give him the ability to fail at tackle, and if he fails, you know he's going to be a good guard. The thing that stood out to me was those movement skills, the athleticism. We've seen so many guys come in and just be these super athletes at the position, and Ursery is one of those guys. You see him big, long, and he's just able to move people, like you said, in the run game, was really bouncing people around and as a pass protector. So I really think he stood out in a lot of ways, and he's playing himself either back into the first round or really into that early portion of the second round that I think is a sweet spot for him.
Absolutely, because his profile, like you said, he's got the athleticism, he's got the arm length. I absolutely want to see him, maybe even in a Patriots uniform. Thank you so much, JP. And thank you all, as always, for watching. Make sure to check us out on Patriots Press Pass on YouTube. And for all of our written work, make sure to check out clnsmedia.com.